Chapter 35, Card Games. It was difficult to walk in the armor, but Red hoped that just added to the stiff march that was characteristic of the soldier cards. She saw first the hedge maze and then her home through the thin line of visibility in the helmet's visor. The tum-tum tree where she loved to sit and think now looked creepy and unwelcoming. No wonder Dee had left. No wonder Twee had joined the court. Both options were far better than becoming a soldier card. Red felt lucky that the cards rarely talked, because she wasn't sure if she could disguise her voice. In her armor, she marched freely through the end of the maze and through the front doors of the castle as easily as if she were coming home from school. But as she rounded the corner of the foyer, she nearly collided with her own mother. The Queen of Hearts was in a state like Red had never seen before. Her whole face was scarlet, and the angry vein in her forehead had grown so large that Red was worried it might burst. The Queen's hair was frizzy, and her eyes were bloodshot. "Watch where you're going," the Queen of Hearts shrieked. Red lurched back, and not a moment too soon. "Remember to salute." "Well," the Queen growled. Red stayed frozen in her salute. Was there some other protocol for the soldier cards? She hadn't paid attention to them before. "Did you find her yet?" "Oh." Red put her arms at her sides and slowly shook her head. "No matter. I just wish we could get any information out of them." Red's mother rolled her eyes and then spoke in a mocking, high-pitched voice. "You'll never find her. She'll be a better queen than you ever were. Ugh, it's exhausting." She rubbed two fingers where the bridge of her nose met her eyebrows. Red's stomach churned. Were Chester and Ace being momentarily spared just so the Queen of Hearts and her soldier cards could get information out of them? She had to get down to the dungeons. "Anyway, keep at it," the Queen said, then pouted. "I may lie down for a bit. I'm going to look like a mess at the ceremony tomorrow without any of my beauty sleep." "Hearts alive!" Red almost exclaimed aloud. Her mother was still going through with the tea ceremony? What on earth was her plan? But without elaborating any further, the Queen yawned and headed for the stairs. Red saluted once more and waited until she was out of sight, then broke into a run. She tried to limit her speed to a quick march as she descended the many, many flights of stairs into the dungeons. They were ancient, built into the foundation of an old castle that had been there even before the Queen of Hearts began her reign, before the time of Alice, before the War of the Roses or closing of the borders. And you could smell it, the way the centuries-old stone and cold iron, rusted by an eternal trickle of groundwater, seemed so sag and meld into the very earth around it. It was odd. Red did not encounter any soldier cards on her way down the stairs, and there was only one standing guard near the first cell. Red nodded to him and then marched on, acting as if she knew exactly where she was going. But there weren't as many prisoners as Red had expected. The Queen blew her top at random people all the time. Red had even seen her stop their car on the side of the road once because she saw a man eating a ham sandwich on a Tuesday, which was of course forbidden. The soldier cards had been called, and he was hauled off. A few years ago, the Queen of Hearts had issued a benevolence policy that promised a more merciful path of reform for offenders rather than imprisonment. But Red had never known what become of that. Now, thinking of the boy from whom she'd taken this armor, thinking of the many legions of mindless soldier cards, which seemed to be growing all the time, a slow feeling of dread began to creep up Red's spine. There was no time to dwell on it. In the cell at the very end of the hall, Red caught sight of a familiar mop of light brown hair. She hurried over. Chester and Ace looked awful. They sat on the filthy ground, their faces expressionless and their hands dirty. They looked up sullenly as she approached, obviously expecting more punishment. "What do you want now?" Chester sneered. "We won't talk." Ace stared straight ahead. "We have nothing to say." "Guys, it's me," Red whispered. Ace scrambled to his feet, and Chester's eyes grew wide. "Red?" Chester hissed. "No, No, we told you to keep going. Red, you have to get out of here and leave you to rot? Red was almost angry. How could I? Come on, we're going together. She searched her armor. Did she have? Yes. There was a set of keys built into her gloves, though not one that would have opened the heart-shaped keyhole in the back of her helmet. She tried each until one tripped the lock of the cell gate. With a sickening screech, the metal scrapped along its track and crashed against the stone at the other end. Red froze, but no one appeared. Ace looked panicked. Red, I don't know. We're sure to get stopped. Even if it looks like you're leading us, you don't know how brutal she is. We've underestimated her. This is not a negotiation, Red hissed. There were loose chains on the ground of the cell, broken from their prisoners years ago. But put those around yourselves. Follow me. They clanked through the dungeons and past the guard at the front. He stood at attention for a moment, but Red nodded and kept going. What's that noise? Chester whispered behind her. There was a rhythmic, ominous clank coming from somewhere above them. Red started the group up the long, winding stairs. I don't know, she said. They were somewhere beneath the grand hall. It could be anything. Maybe there's a changing of the guard. But the noise was growing louder, ricocheting against the walls of the stairs. Red, Ace said, but she pushed on. Then they came to the first landing and stopped cold. The soldier carts had come down the stairs to meet them, 2 by 2, completely blocking the way. They stared the group down with their lifeless helmets and stood shoulder to shoulder. Red hesitated, gripping the decoy chains tighter and offering a salute. No one responded. As she watched, the guards moved in a shuffling pattern, turning sideways and back again. Something was coming through their ranks. At last, the ones closest to Red parted, and her mother walked through. Nice try, the Queen of Hearts said quietly.